I've made it to Indy. Welcome into the hotel room. We're all set up. This can be the maiden voyage of the show, the podcast, whatever you want to call it, from the great city that hosts the NFL Combine every single season. Tomorrow, John Lynch is going to have his press conference. That's going to be at 5:30 Eastern, and then I'll have the opportunity to talk to John after the press conference. So just because you see a lot of material coming out at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. Be ready for more. I'll have some reactions and all that moving past it. And there should be a lot of information to get us off and running in this 49ers off season. But I love my subscribers, all viewers that are aboard right now. Wanted to give you a chance since I'm here at 11:06 p.m. Eastern time. I wanted to answer some questions heading into tomorrow's big day. The prospects are going to start to show up here over the course of the next couple days. Tomorrow is the majority of GM and coach availability. No Kyle Shanahan, no Raheem Morris. The 49ers coaching staff is not here at the Combine. They are working back in Santa Clara. There are teams like the Rams who are not even sending their GM here. The Jags and the Rams, who both come from the Rams tree, with Les Snead in charge of the Rams at their GM spot and James Gladstone, the GM of Jacksonville, used to be with LA. Neither of those two teams have sent their GMs to this combine. And Sean McVay, Liam Cohn, also not here. So every single season, it feels that there are fewer big names at the podiums during the media availabilities on Tuesday and Wednesday here in Indianapolis, but we will see John Lynch up there at 5:30 Eastern tomorrow. And, one of the things that I want to hear from John Lynch, and one of the things I'm going to try to gather behind the scenes here at the Combine, because it's a big kind of appraisal meeting. I want to see what the market for Jauan Jennings is shaping up to be. And I'll report back to you guys because, some of the salary cap websites, I know they just run some numbers and they run an algorithm. They're thinking Jauan Jennings might be worth $22 million a year. But when you look at some of the other projections from writers, they're not as optimistic about Jauan Jennings' market. And this is the event where the 49ers are going to be able to talk to Drew Rosenhaus, who is Jauan Jennings' agent. They're going to be able to talk to other teams, just off the record kind of stuff where you get a feel for what everybody thinks of Jauan Jennings and what his market might be. And based on that, I think we'll develop a much firmer idea of if the 49ers can re-sign this guy in 2026. Because if Jauan Jennings comes in at $14 million a year, I think he'll be back with the 49ers. I think if it's under $15 million a year, he'll be back with the 49ers. But if the price for him, if there's somebody willing to pay him $20 million or more, then at that point, I don't think that it makes sense for San Francisco as they're trying to get faster at the wide receiver position. The thing is, if you're paying Jauan Jennings under $15 million a year, you can get the benefits of Jauan, the great blocker, the guy who antagonizes opposing defenses, the guy that you love to have on your team and other teams hate to play against. You can get the benefits of that, but you could also have enough salary cap money to go out and get some speed on top of that. But if you're paying Jauan Jennings $22 million a year, I'm not sure that you're going to be able to make that second speed signing at one of the skill positions. So it's a matter of price. And, in an ideal world, in a perfect world, the 49ers can go out and sign every single good player out there on free agency. But obviously, there is a limit that they have to adhere to, that they've done a good job of adhering to over the course of the Shanahan-Lynch regime. But they have to worry not only about the finances of 2026, but the finances of 2027 as well, because that's when things start to get really, really expensive with some of this cap money deferred into the future. They took a big reset year in 2025. I think they're ready to take some bigger swings this year. That doesn't mean that they're just going to go for broke with no thought, no regard for the future. They've got to think about how the salary cap sink, and these are interconnected sinks year to year, doesn't overflow in 2027, doesn't overflow in 2028, since a lot of the expenditures for players currently on the roster will increase into 2027 and 2028. All right, we're going to answer a lot of questions here. Mike has some cool graphics prepared for us as well while we're talking about Jauan Jennings and that wide receiver room. Why don't we toss up one of the really good graphics that Mike was able to create here the other day? Because I think that this does a really good job illustrating the efficiency problem that the 49ers absolutely must fix heading into 2026. So red is bad, green is, or blue is good. You definitely want more blue than the 49ers managed last season. And yards per route run, it's this column right here, is going to be the main one denoting receiving efficiency. The fact that the 49ers were able to deliver top 5 offensive play when their QB1 was available this past year is borderline miraculous. It's a huge testament to Brock Purdy. It's a huge testament to Kyle Shanahan. It's a big testament to Christian McCaffrey. But, I mean, look at the receiving efficiency. It wasn't good. So the 49ers were able to scrounge their way to top 5 level efficient offense, despite the fact that you had almost every single target beneath the league average in yards per route run. Christian McCaffrey, efficient, but overburdened. He was efficient for the running back standard, not for a wide receiver standard. And that's why you need wide receivers. And naturally, you look at Jauan Jennings here. Jauan Jennings, 1.35 yards per route run. From your wide receiver 1 and your wide receiver 2, you need that number to be over 2 if you want to have a top offense on a year-in, year-out basis. Somehow, the 49ers' top wideout was Jauan Jennings at 1.35 yards per route run. Kendrick Bourne also was near there, but fewer catches at 1.4. Somehow, the 49ers were able to make do with that to deliver top-level offense. And that's because they've got a superstar quarterback. They've got a great play caller. They have George Kittle, but he tore his Achilles, so it makes it even more imperative that the 49ers find a way to load up at receiver, at tight end, at running back, however they do it. They've just got to get more blue on this chart. Blue is good. Red is bad. And as you can see here, Jauan Jennings below the threshold of elite impact. If Jennings had gone out there and was a 2+ yard per route run guy, then I would be saying, okay, 49ers can pay him $20+ million a year. But I think to be a 2+ yard per route run guy under the parameters that we saw, it would have meant that Jennings would have to be a receiver 1 or a receiver 2, and he'd have to be a space maker with speed, because that's what the 49ers were missing. He couldn't just nestle in as a number 3 wide receiver, which he had been in years prior when Brandon Ayuk and company were available. And because he was thrust into an outsized role, he only managed 1.35 yards per route run. And I'm not so sure that he's worth $20+ million to the 49ers because of that. The big question now is, will Jauan Jennings be worth more than $20 million to other teams? Because that's what's going to determine the free agent market. I mean, he's done a lot of good stuff in his career. He has earned this unrestricted free agency, which is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. But I think the 49ers spending willingness ends at a spot that does not match Jauan Jennings' contract demands right now. And maybe those 2 points will come closer together if other teams around the league in unrestricted free agency are unwilling to pay Jauan what he wants. But that's just something that we're going to have to wait and see over the course of the next few weeks. All right, Q&A time. I'm going to head into the comment section, answer some of your questions. You can pop open the roster here as you ask your questions. I will be happy to answer the good ones that pop up on the screen, and we'll take a look at the roster as we do talk about them getting ready for John Lynch tomorrow. Why can't the 49ers tag Jennings? Well, because that would be extremely expensive. The wide receiver franchise tag is basically the average of the top 5 salaries per year at the position, which would bring it into the high 20s, right? Mike can tell me exactly what it is, but I'm guessing it's in the It might even be in the low 30s. The Dallas Cowboys want to franchise tag George Pickens, and I believe that actually might be 32 million per year, which Jauan Jennings would immediately say yes to. If Jauan Jennings is demanding 20 million a year and the 49ers are saying no, our number is 15, and all of a sudden they offer the franchise tag, which by rule would have to be 28.8 million. Mike just got the number. Then of course Jennings would say yes, but that would extend the 49ers 8 million past even Jennings asking price and probably extend them 2x of what they're willing to pay Jauan. So the franchise tag in this case doesn't make sense. Mike made sense in the case of Eddie Pinheiro, the kicker for the 49ers. The franchise tag probably between 5 and 6 million for kickers. I think the Eddie's market value, which the 49ers will get the probe here at the NFL Combine, talking to other teams, talking to his agent, might be right between 5 and 6 million. And if they can't find a long-term agreement at that number, they can apply the franchise tag just as a placeholder to give them a longer time to negotiate with Eddie Pinheiro so that he can't sign with other teams. You can also slap the transition tag on a player, which isn't as expensive as the franchise tag. What the transition tag does is it allows that player to negotiate with other teams. But if he does get an offer greater than the one that you've given him, you do have the right of first refusal. You can match that offer if you place a transition tag on a player. But it does make you commit to that player for at least the amount of money that the transition tag costs. So the 49ers can invoke all of these tools, but the franchise tag definitely doesn't make sense for Jauan Jennings. If it does make sense for anyone, it would be for Eddie Pinheiro. It's not if it's pocket change for Jed York. Like Jed York and the 49ers can afford all of these salaries as is. This is about the salary cap. The 49ers are not a cash poor team. The 49ers have been top 5 in spending in almost every single season under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. They've been top 2 in spending ever since Shanahan and Lynch joined in 2017. If you look at things cumulatively, it's not a matter of the 49ers being cheap. This is a matter of strategically planning around the salary cap so they can be sustainable as a football team. And even last year, where they restrained themselves in free agency, they still had the number 4 highest cash spent of any team in the NFL. And they do a good job of allocating this against the salary cap and spreading some of the hits out into the future. They do as good of a job as any team. I think it's the Eagles and the 49ers who are the class of the league in that regard. But you still have to limit the total expenditures, or else you're going to overflow the sink at some point. So for the franchise tag kicking wise, the 49ers want to find the best deal possible for Eddie Pinheiro, or however they proceed at the kicker position. And I should note that it is much easier to work with the salary cap numbers and spread them over multiple years if you reach a long-term deal. If you just use the franchise of the transition tag and that's what the player plays on, all of the money has to hit this year. You can't spread it out into multiple seasons, and then it becomes a lot harder for the 49ers to surf the wave of the rising salary cap the way that they do. Mike says that Rashad Bateman's contract is something that he likes for Jauan Jennings. That was a total of $36.75 million, so about $12 to $13 million per year. Maybe that plus inflation would make sense. Bateman signed during the season this past year. And basically, I mean, that was a discount, right? We saw the discount for the Ravens. Jauan Jennings was offered, I think, something around 12 million from the 49ers to sign before this past season. He did not take it. He wanted 20, and the negotiation stopped there. He said, I'd rather take my chances and try to push this all the way forward to free agency. Pharrell says if there was no salary cap, the 49ers could be the Dodgers of baseball. Yes. I mean, the 49ers are one of the most profitable teams, big market team. They've got the history there, but there is a salary cap. It is a hard cap in the NFL. Even though you can shift expenditures forward, the cap every year cannot be crossed. In baseball and in basketball, they have certain numbers, and then above those numbers, you can pay luxury taxes. In football, you can't do that. In football, it is a hard cap, just like in hockey. You can't go over that cap. You can, though, play some cap gymnastics to get underneath it, but it doesn't really give you a massive advantage if you're a huge spender. You have to be good at the math. You have to be good at the shuffling. You have to be good at the Excel and the finances. And that's what Parag Maratha and his team have done so well over the years. As Eric Gomes says, strategic spending, not throwing money around for the sake of throwing money. Typically in free agency, you are not going to run into the best deals. You're typically going to have to overpay in free agency. I mean, the very best players in this league very rarely hit free agency. You almost always run into a situation where guys who are slightly damaged goods are in free agency, but you're okay with that because you're trying to plug a certain hole on your team. Otherwise, those guys wouldn't have been available had they been A-listers for their previous teams in general, because they would have been re-signed. Like we always say, the 49ers try to re-sign their own A-list players before they hit free agency. That almost always happens. So in free agency, you're taking somebody who wasn't worth enough to his previous team to re-sign before he hit free agency. And you're generally having to pay a premium because teams are bidding for that player's services. So the cost can often overrun what is efficient in free agency. And that's why you've got to be very, very careful with that particular method of talent acquisition. You got questions about what position I'm looking forward to at the combine? Nothing really. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys about the NFL combine. The guys run 40s. The guys catch some passes. There's a reason why Sean McVay isn't here. There's a reason why Kyle Shanahan isn't here. There's a reason why James Gladstone, Jacksonville's GM, isn't here. There's a reason why Les Snead, the Rams GM, isn't here. And it's because you don't get all too much out of this event. Like, the guys are going to run around. They call it the Underwear Olympics. And they're going to be impressive athletic performances, and all of them are going to be trackable from far away. You don't have to be here in Indianapolis to see how fast the guy runs the 40-yard dash. And even if he runs a fast 40-yard dash, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a good football player. The primary point of this event is so that the medical staffs of all these teams can examine these players, figure out where the red flags are. If they have questions about pre-existing injuries and surgeries that these players have undergone, they could get those questions answered. So they have as much intel as possible ahead of the NFL draft at the end of April. The main reason I'm here is to talk to John Lynch tomorrow and give you as much insight on the 49ers thought process as possible. But what happens here from Wednesday until Sunday, I think, is when it ends. It's largely not that relevant. Like, a lot of people are going to try to make crazy news out of a player saying he visited with teams. Well, guess what? These guys visit with almost every team here. I mean, they go through these 15-minute interviews in hotel rooms like this in Indianapolis, and it's very quick, and it's awfully rehearsed almost at this point. These guys have been coached up for these interviews. You're going to get a much better idea of the players the 49ers are interested in through the visits that they host at their team facility in Santa Clara over the next couple of months before the NFL draft. And those, they have 30 of those visits to the team facility. Those always give us a better indication of what's happening. The combine is basically just the appetizer for all of this stuff, and it's important to not take it too seriously. New member, James. Welcome in, James. Awesome. Mike sent me a cool XY chart, but I've got to read this before I put it up on the screen because I don't even know what it's trying to say. Are these APYs, Mike, of receivers who are currently under contract? Not of free agents, right? It's APY and age. Okay, got it. But no, that's interesting. We'll take a look at that in a future video. I've got to analyze that a little bit before I have any conclusions on it. Mike has been able to churn out a lot of cool data as of late. It's been fun. No, I'm actually not looking forward to seeing any prospects here. I'm being 100% honest with you guys. I like watching the tape, and we're going to go through tape of prospects over the course of the next 2 months. I don't get to sit there and interview them in a hotel room. They stand at podiums, and there's a lot of people who crowd around the podium. You do not learn hardly anything through the NFL Combine uh, as a media member. There will be media members pretending that they're learning stuff, but they're not actually learning stuff here over the course of the next few days. Again, this is about Lynch tomorrow, and then we could start watching the tape of these prospects, and free agency is going to hit before we know it, and hopefully we'll have enough answers regarding the 49ers roster construction path via free agency to set us up well for what they're going to do in the NFL draft. But as far as the relation of the combine to draft order and just getting to know players goes, it is a highly overrated event. Do I think there might be a deal for Mac Jones? Well, that's another thing that's going to be discussed this week. The 49ers will probe interest for Mac Jones from other teams. Again, all the agents in one spot. The stuff that you don't see is what is going to be the most impactful development from the NFL scouting combine. No DK? Are you guys talking about DK Metcalf? Oh, people are saying any chance the 49ers can steal DK Metcalf for Ayuk? No. Ayuk, unless he's willing to change around his contract, is not going to have trade value for the 49ers. They would need some cooperation from Brandon Ayuk, and that's something that they have not gotten, of course, for a long, long time at this point. None of the 49ers front office got picked to be a GM elsewhere. Josh Williams interviewed this year but didn't get it. He is one of the next candidates to be picked up to be a GM elsewhere, but he still remains with the 49ers for now. Why not go get Keenan Allen and Joey Bosa for the price of Jennings? Well, I don't know what the price of Jennings is going to be yet. I'm not sure what the price of Bosa, Joey's going to be yet. The 49ers might be thinking that way. They're definitely going to be interested in Joey Bosa again. They were last year. I think they're willing to pay up to about $10 million last year. The Bills paid 13. Now that Joey's has a healthy, good season under his belt, maybe he can ask for a little bit more, and maybe the 49ers would be willing to pay a little bit more this season. Keenan Allen, well, that's a player who, he's obviously past his prime. He might be available on the cheap. I think that somebody like Mike Evans might be cheaper than some of these analysts realize. That's why I talked about him earlier today. And if he comes in at a decent price, well, then that could be an upgrade over Jauan Jennings for the 49ers. I just wouldn't rely on Evans to for sure be one of your top two receivers. I think that if obviously Ricky Pearsall, then I think you've got to take another swing either through the draft or maybe you do find a Romeo Doubs in all of this. But I think that somebody like Evans, whose snap counts have decreased in each of the past 4 seasons, down to only 300 something snaps with hamstring issues last year and a broken collarbone, you got to be very careful because he's going to be 33 years old, and you have to make sure that you avoid the pitfalls that you hit last season where you just ran out of targets, ran out of legitimate weapons for Brock Purdy. Got a question. How about Tyreek? Then we have an answer. No to over the hill. I like that. Nice little play on words. There's a lot of off-field stuff with Tyreek Hill, too, that makes that extremely unlikely for the 49ers to pursue. 49ers need to figure out a way to stay healthy. Generally, the way to do that is to get as young as possible. Older players are going to have more health issues in general. So, and you also want to sign guys who have track records of general durability. I think that helps as well. I mean, Mike Evans as a third wide receiver, I think would be an excellent proposition for the 49ers. As a 2 behind Ricky Pearsall, there's plenty of upside there if he stays healthy, but it is riskier, and this is a team that ran out of weapons on the perimeter this past year. So it's a matter of how much, you'd be playing with a little bit of fire there for sure. Now, you could bring in Evans, and then you could say, well, Jordan Watkins needs to step up, and Jacob Cowing needs to step up, and Demarcus Robinson can be one of those guys for the 49ers. I mean, he's a decently high floor player. So, maybe it could work that way, but I mean, everything's a risk. I get it, but those are the kind of things that you have to consider if you're the 49ers. How are you going to make this receiver core not only robust, but also something that is lasting and effective and generating space all the way into January and potentially even February? What about tight end since Pitts is getting tagged? Well, I think tight end is probably one of the deeper positions in all free agency. Even Travis Kelce is available there. But no, Isaiah Likely, the former Raven or still the current Raven, is there. Dallas Goedert of the Philadelphia Eagles has not been franchise tagged at the tight end position. Maybe Zach Ertz wants to keep on playing another year. Tight end seems deep. And one name that I want everybody to remember at tight end, Charlie Kolar. This is a former teammate of Brock Purdy's, who is probably the best blocking tight end in this entire free agent class. And he and Brock Purdy were very competitive with each other in the weight room at Iowa State. And then Charlie went to the NFL, and so did Brock. And now Charlie is going to be a free agent. And if the 49ers move on from Luke Farrell, I think Charlie Kolar, a big tight end, somebody who, has a rapport with Brock Purdy. He's 6'6", he's 265. I think that could be a very, very good addition to the 49ers when it comes to bolstering the run game and also giving Brock Purdy another trusted target. So Charlie Kolar, I think, is a name that I'm going to be talking about more and more over the course of the next several weeks. I just lost my window here. I've got to find my window again. I got way too many windows open, so I can't read any of your questions until I close out a bunch of windows and find where we are right now. So just give me a second. This is one of the issues when I'm in a hotel room. Oh, I found it. We are still here, still with you guys. Cool. I could hide the current comment. With Kelce, you need a no shoving the coach when you don't get the ball clause. I think Kelce at this stage in his career, it would just be a swan song retirement job. I don't know. Well, I don't. Maybe he still has a temper. I'm not sure. But when that happened in the Super Bowl the other year, I can't imagine that happening with Kyle Shanahan. I don't think the 49ers would be okay with that. You're dreading the day that Fred and Trent retire. Well, I think for Fred, it's still a long ways away. He wants to continue playing for a while. I wouldn't worry all too much about it. All right, guys, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an intro. Welcome to Indianapolis. We got a nice background here, downtown Indy. Out through that window, I'll show you some of the food, and I'll show you some of the intel coming out of Indy. John Lynch is going to speak tomorrow, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for following along. It's been fun. Travels were good. Combine kicks off tomorrow. Talk to you guys soon.